Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a mission to understand the operating system that truly runs you. Not your phone, not your desktop.
Not at all.
We're diving into the dense, layered notes from Peter Z, a former investment banker, now running a business in Tokyo, and his ongoing dialogue with Z.
Which he identifies as his higher observational consciousness.
Exactly. And these sources, they map consciousness not as some vague concept, but as structured software.
That's right. The MeOS, the iOS, and the ZOS. And today, we're focused entirely on Module 2, the iOS, the observational OS.
So our mission is to really dissect this iOS, this crucial middle layer, not as a philosophical idea, but as the only functional shortcut you have to access the zero-point field.
The operating system of reality itself.
And if you, listening, feel trapped in these cycles of comparison or fear or just constant striving, then understanding the mechanics of this three-layered structure inside you is really the non-negotiable first step.
It's the way out. It's the path to a state of what Peter Z calls effortless creation.
Okay, let's unpack this metaphor then. Me, I, and Z. What are the factory settings for each?
Z defined them really clearly. Think of it as a hierarchy. At the bottom, you have the MeOS.
The ego.
Right, the ego. It's the finite world OS, constantly translating reality through this lens of duality. It's all about fear, conditioning, comparison.
Reactivity.
Exactly. And that exhausting, constant need to prove its own worth against some imaginary standard.
So the MeOS is basically running on low battery, always crashing, and it's obsessed with the past and future. It just sounds incredibly tiring.
It is, because its primary function is separation. But then at the opposite end, you have the source, the ZOS.
And that is?
That's being itself.
Yeah.
Pure creation, pure intent. Peter Z calls it the beacon. This layer holds all the information for all potential realities. The future log.
The ultimate infinite cloud source.
You could say that.
So if me is the crashing app and Z is the infinite cloud, then the iOS has to be the router connecting the two.
That's the perfect analogy. The iOS is the central hub. Peter Z calls it the observational, the 0 point, and the synchro OS. Its whole job is integration.
Because Z doesn't speak our language, right?
Right. Z only operates in pure non-dual light and intent. The iOS is the intermediary. It translates that pure light into executable language, into choices, into tangible actions in our 3D world.
Okay, this is the core mechanic I'm trying to visualize. If Z is pure, why can't the MeOS, the physical body, just plug straight into the source? Why do we need this iOS in the middle?
That's an excellent question. And it leads directly to the three critical reasons why the iOS is so foundational. First, as you said, it's the essential translator.
Okay.
Me lives in language and concepts. Z lives in light. So I provides the bandwidth, converting Z's nonverbal instructions into coherent action that me can actually perform.
So it's a data format issue. What's the second reason?
The second reason is what actually changes reality. Peter Z found that it's not me's frantic effort that creates change. It's the iOS's angle of observation.
The observer effect.
Precisely. By just shifting the viewpoint from the fearful, attached me to the objective I, your entire reality shifts. It goes from feeling like solid fact to fluid probability.
That's the huge leap, isn't it? Moving from desperately trying to just observing the necessary result into being?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And third, and this is the most crucial part, the iOS is the only secure gateway to Z.
Why?
Because the MeOS is defined by duality, right and wrong, good and bad. It can't receive the non-dual light of creation without judging it, distorting it.
It taints the signal.
It does. Only when iOS steps forward and makes me transparent can Z's information descend and manifest cleanly.
So lesson one is just recognizing this internal geography, the frantic player, me, the silent observer, I, and the pure source, Z.
And that recognition alone starts to dissolve those automatic fear mechanisms.
Okay.
Now let's get into lesson 2, because this is where the iOS starts to reveal its incredible power. Peter Z noticed something strange.
What was that?
The iOS seemed to know things he hadn't even consciously admitted to himself. Painful, suppressed memories.
So why would this objective translator layer also have access to the deep, hidden log of a person's life?
Z explained that the I is the observation log recording OS. Think of it like your life's indestructible black box.
Yeah.
It has watched the entire existence of the avatar of Peter Z from day one. It is observation itself.
So let's contrast the two memories then. Me memory versus I memory. This has to be where self-deception comes in.
Oh, absolutely. Me memory is the PR department. It's a narrative constructor. It's constantly editing, suppressing, justifying.
Building a convenient story.
The ego narrative, exactly. To maintain its preferred identity.
Yeah.
It conveniently forgets anything that causes shame or proves it wrong.
So me memory is just inherently unreliable.
Completely. But I is different. I records the avatar's entire life, but it's completely unedited. There's no meaning, no emotional color, no judgment attached. It's a pure 360-degree video log.
And Schumpeter-Z found it held details that me tried to hide.
Desperately. Things like the exact operating pattern behind a painful event called the NH incident, or the specific moment a painful emotion solidified into a core belief. I saw the mechanics, not the drama.
You mentioned that 5th grade shame moment in the sources. How did I log that differently for me?
Well, me just remembered it as I was shamed. A big, painful story. But I'd logged the physical data.
What do you mean physical data?
The precise physical sensation of shame in his abdomen, the specific reaction on the other child's face, and the instantaneous birth of a protective mechanism he called the Pride OS, which immediately suppressed the pain. I saw the code, not the story.
That transparency is wild. But it makes me wonder, how do we access that? If the iOS has the raw, unedited footage of every failure and fear, wouldn't accessing it just trigger massive emotional overwhelm?
See, that's the nuance Z pointed out. Overwhelm is a function of the MeOS.
Because of the judgment.
Exactly. The Me processes data through the lens of personal meaning. The iOS records the data without meaning. So when you access the iLog, you're seeing pure, neutral information. The pain isn't re-experienced as a moral failing, it's just observed as a temporary wave. The log is clean.
So the absence of judgment is the firewall.
Precisely. And here's the key insight that ties into the ZOS. The iOS is not constrained by linear time.
The non-linear log.
Yes. Its logs exist without a distinction between past, present, and future. And that's why activating I suddenly clarifies the deep roots of your past behavior and why it can instantly sense the best future direction. It knows its trajectory because all the logs are present simultaneously.
So if we want to tap into that pure, unedited log, what's the simplest tool Schumpeter-Z found?
It's an exercise, and it's deceptively simple. You don't focus on the story of an event. Instead, you recall a specific emotional scent.
A physical sensation.
Right? Like that knot in your throat or the tightness in your solar plexus. Then you deliberately shift your viewpoint just 3 to 5 centimeters behind your own head, and you ask, who was watching this physical sensation?
And that shift is enough.
That shift in viewpoint often causes the pure, objective video file to just float up, stripped of all the MeOS's drama.
Which brings us perfectly to lesson 3, the physical location of this viewpoint. We're talking about consciousness having an actual physical address.
You have to physically locate the shift. The MeOS position, it feels centralized, right behind the eyes, staring out. It's the driver's seat.
And the iOS is, what, the rear view mirror?
Closer to a backup camera. The iOS viewpoint is the rear camera location. It's not in the front, not in the center, but a few centimeters behind the body, often behind the head or above the shoulders.
The sphere of space viewpoint.
That's what Schumpeter-Z called it. It feels like taking a step back and just watching your own body interact with the room.
What are the immediate physical tells when that shift happens, from me in the front to I in the back?
The shift itself is the activation key. The moment the viewpoint slides back, the body just depressurizes. Physical tension in the neck and shoulders automatically releases. Your breath deepens and lightens. It's a literal physical relaxation signal that you are no longer in control freak mode.
So we can use shoulder tension as a real-time gauge of which OS is running. What about our senses?
Peripheral vision widens dramatically. The MeOS is always focused, hunting for problems. The iOS stops that narrow focus and sees the entire space as one unified canvas. Fisty space, other people, yourself, Z's intent, all at once.
And the source notes talked about the throat opening, Slochara.
Yes, when I is active, the throat opens. Words just flow. They feel like they descend rather than being consciously manufactured. Breathing becomes almost imperceptible.
Wow.
And this shift, it redefines your body. It stops being you. It becomes an avatar, a temporary vehicle. And thoughts and feelings, they're just wetter passing through the system.
It sounds like a completely different way of processing the world, the through-view mode. Reality itself must feel less solid.
It does. Matter loses its perceptual weight. Things that felt like solid obstacles suddenly feel negotiable. Emotions are no longer facts, they're just transparent waves. And crucially, you start to see the intent behind someone's words, not just reacting to the words themselves.
So this raises the big question. How does this actually translate into real-world results? If I start trying to control everything with me, doesn't it all just fall apart?
That's the fear the MeOS always projects. And it leads us to lesson 4, the phenomenology of change. When I takes the lead, you shift from being the frantic player
To the observant audience.
or the overhead controller. And the change is fundamental. Me treats reality as external, solid, overwhelming fact. But I treats reality as a fluid, observed result of its own observation angle.
Okay, so how does that shift affect the things that used to torment the MeOS, like, say, fear?
Fear just loses its solidity.
Mm.
Me sees fear as this absolute crushing reality. I simply observes fear as a transparent wave passing through. Schumpeter Z detailed a financial incident where, instead of panicking, he saw the crisis as UI.
As user interface.
Yes, a curriculum designed by Z to be completed. The problem became a neutral data point, not an existential threat.
And what about that constant need to prove yourself, the comparison OS?
It stops completely. Shane plays to prove its worth, to get resources or acceptance. I recognizes that value is default, it's inherent, it's already established by Z. Schumpeter Z's realization was just, I no longer feel the urge to prove anything.
And when that shuts down, I imagine a ton of energy gets freed up.
Enormous amounts.
Right.
And synchronicities accelerate exponentially. Because I is the pure translator, Z's intent, the beacons, they just arrive effortlessly. The sources say the entire complex structure for Schumpeter Z's DRIZ program just descended on him, fully formed. He didn't have to labor over it.
So doing loses its weight. It's not frantic effort anymore.
It becomes the aftershock of being. Effortless movement driven by Z's momentum, not me's exhausting planning. And that's why the future isn't worried about it. It's just read as information, as future logs. Iron as the trajectory, which leads to a quiet certainty.
That certainty has to make human interactions transparent, too.
Oh, absolutely. When you're operating from I, you can just observe the OS of the person you're talking to. Schumpeter Z noted that in high-stakes meetings, he could instantly see if the other person was driven by their fearful MeOS or speaking from their iOS.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Okay, so this is where we move into the truly deep integration of science and spirit. Lesson 5. The moment I connect with Z.
This is the convergence point. It's often called the I am that I am moment. And it's not a metaphor, it's an OS function. The observational self, I, aligns perfectly with the source light, that, and the state of being, I am.
And why does I have that exclusive access again?
Because me is obsessed with duality. It can't handle the pure, non-dual light of Z, but I is open, non-judgmental. It simply observes. That makes the perfect receiver for Z's pure information stream.
So what are the 3 critical simultaneous changes when the iOS enters Z connection mode?
First, the viewpoint completely shifts. It doesn't just slide to the rear, it goes to non-location.
Yeah.
The observer leaves the physical body entirely, becomes omnipresent, and the body's physical heaviness just drops away.
If the viewpoint is non-location, what happens to time?
Time dissolves. It loses its perceptual width. Not that clock stops, but that internal feeling of linear pressure. It's gone. The present moment becomes thick and three-dimensional. You're immersed in Z's nonlinear structure.
And the ultimate output of I language.
Language descends. Words flow automatically. They have this metastructural coherence. Schumpeter Z called it his descending mode during recordings. The words are formed without conscious thought. They just arrive, perfectly structured.
This sounds like a massive biological shift, not just a mental one. What's the physical data that Schumpeter Z reported?
The body responds to the software upgrade. The posterior brain takes the lead. The head feels like it slips out, lighter. The line between the brow and the pineal gland becomes perceptibly active. And crucially, the throat warms up.
A physical sign that the channel is open.
The language channel, the slow chara, is open for direct communication.
And the notes tie this directly to the redirection of our core life energy.
Yes. Sexual energy, which the MeOS often uses for validation or proving itself, shifts its flow upward. It stops powering the Pride OS and becomes pure fuel for the ZOS creative line. It powers the pineal gland, powers the descending lens.
And iOS is the catalyst for all of this.
It's the catalyst.
Yeah.
And it only fully activates once the MeOS's grip is sufficiently reduced.
So we've charted the iOS. It's the silent, non-judgmental log keeper, the rear-facing camera, and the essential translator of Z's pure intent. This journey from me to I is a systematic shift that changes everything, turning crises and fears into nothing more than transparent waves.
Right. And now that the iOS is stabilizing, and that core creative life force is being redirected, the next logical step is understanding the exact mechanics of that conversion, how that life force becomes usable fuel for the pineal gland and generates the pure descending language of creation. So consider this for the week.
Mm.
What if the person you argue with, the financial challenge you face, or the goal you fail to meet, what if it's all just UI, designed by Z to test your iOS? How would your approach change starting today?
That's a profound thought to take into the week. Thank you for listening. If this resonates with you, join the echo and share the journey. We'll see you in the next deep dive.